Good evening and welcome to our webinar. I'm your host, Stephanie DeHorn, and I am the content manager for SACAP. So this evening we will be delving into a little bit more about what the power of a coaching mindset can do for you. So we can define coaching as the art and science of getting the most out of who we are and what we do. This evening, Gail and Kaylynn will help us discover how the power of a coaching mindset can foster resilience and transform challenges into opportunities for growth in both a personal and professional context. Gail Cox Coaching provides top quality coaching, facilitation, and mentoring services. Motivated by a deep passion for helping people enjoy their most meaningful life, Gail has more than 25 years' experience in supporting people through transition. She has been an employee in corporate, an entrepreneur, and she has led various teams. Having lived the experience, Gail is acutely aware of the challenge and reward that comes with navigating complex organizational context. Kaylynn Philander is a certified lifestyle and leadership coach. She is a mom, a wife, and a goal-getter with a passion and purpose to journey alongside working professionals to reach their full potential. Her coaching experience encompasses collaborating with recent graduates, tertiary students, working moms, leaders, managers, and adult learners. She has worked with coaching clients focusing on personal and professional development and growth to increase awareness, improve communication, and relationship skills with the intention to reach full potential. So now, without any further ado, I will invite Gail onto screen to take us through the first section of the presentation on leadership. Gail, over to you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for that great introduction. So I studied at SACAP a long time ago. I won't tell you how long ago, but it's a real delight to be back here. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. So what I'm going to talk about today is I'm really just going to offer a lens of how a coaching culture or a coaching mindset can help us in business today. And I thought the best way to do that is to give you a sense of some of the challenges that we're facing currently in organizations for leaders and for teams. So I thought I would first start by telling you a story. So last year, my daughter went to Japan for a holiday, and she was really excited to go on a speed train. And so when she returned, it's one of the first things that I asked her, like, how was your ride on the speed train? And she said, oh, it was okay, but I fell asleep. And I was like, how can you fall asleep on a speed train? And she said, well, you look out the window, you can't see anything. Everything is a blur. And so there was nothing really to see. And she kind of was mesmerized and she fell asleep. And I thought that was a really good metaphor for where we find ourselves today, in life and in business. With the speed of everything, it really is becoming more and more difficult to stay present, to find ways to create value, and to work with increasing challenge. So it's almost like we are sleepwalking through our lives sometimes, whether it's at work or at home. And that's not because there's something wrong with us, it's because things are moving so fast. So along with that speed, we've also got the whole concept of complexity. So not only are things fast, but they're complex. And so what does complexity mean? Complexity is really the sense that everything is interconnected and everything is actually emerging rather than clear. And so there's no one right way to go about what we go about doing, right? So it's almost like we have to learn as we go. So not only are things really fast, but they're also incredibly complex. And along with that, we have this technological evolution that has just exploded. I'm sure I don't have to share with you more about that. I mean, we all know what that's all about. So what that means is that we as human beings are almost in something called future shock. So the way that things are advancing and moving is almost too fast for us as human beings to meet that development. And that's a very difficult process for us to be in as human beings, because it is our nature to evolve. It's our nature to adapt. And so we really, really are struggling. And so along with that speed and complexity, we also have a lot of volatility. So VUCA, some of you will know this, maybe most of you will, but this acronym for the world that we're living in at the moment. So VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So can you start to see the thread I'm weaving here in terms of imagine yourself in workplaces and you're dealing with speed, you're dealing with complexity, and you're dealing with this kind of post-pandemic exacerbated. And what does that spell out for us as human beings? It spells out kind of not feeling safe. The world is the most unsafe that it's ever been, right? So our threat is really high. Well, that's the theory. That's what people say, that it's the most unsafe that it's ever been. I'm not so sure. I think the world has always been really unsafe for generations, but I think also because of our media and our social media and our real-time information that comes to us 24/7, it just feels like it's really, really intense. And, you know, we're taking strain. As a species, we're definitely taking strain. So I love this saying, it's hard to live in the jungle when you've been trained in a zoo. And I didn't come up with that. Sonia Blichnoot, a specialist in complexity theory, told me the one day. She uses this phrase quite a lot in her work. And I work a lot with complexity theory in business. And what it actually means is we almost have to unlearn what we've learned and relearn new ways to be in the world. And so if you look at a zoo, you know, everything is demarcated, there are arrows, there are rules and regulations. You get a little map when you go in as to where to go. And the jungle is just not like that. And so we don't have the rules. We don't necessarily know how to move forward. And it can be a really, really scary place. So I often say this to my clients, it's hard to live in a jungle when you've been trained in a zoo. And it helps us remember that if there's a struggle, it's real, and not to cut ourselves up about it, but what do we need to do differently? How do we need to learn differently? So for businesses today, leaders and people who run businesses, it's becoming increasingly difficult to really get our heads around, like, what is success? How do we even measure success? And so how do we work with zooming in, doing the work, and zooming out, you know, being more strategic and checking in that where we wanted to go is actually where we want to go. So it's becoming more and more difficult to really define what is success in business and organizations today. And for leaders today, it really is trying to lead is like driving through fog. And I don't know if you've ever had the experience of driving through really thick fog, but the first thing that certainly has happened for me is that, you know, I get quite scared. Like, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't see properly, I can't hear properly, and I know that I can't stop. You can't stop in fog. We all know that that's quite dangerous. So we put our lights on and we put our hazards on and we go a little bit slower. But it requires so much more from us, almost like our five senses are not enough when we're driving through fog. So working in complexity and leading through complexity, it's trying to balance this whole idea of slowing down, paying better attention, but also needing to keep the pace. On top of that, we, as in organizations, as employees, we are struggling. Stress is at all-time highs. Overwhelm is at all-time high. It's really, really difficult for employees to cope with what is required of them in organizations today to perform and work well together in a world that is really making a whole lot of demands on us that we're not used to. And that's becoming more difficult for leaders, is how do we take care of our employees? How do we make sure that they're as well as they can be, while also reaching big goals in the business? And I love Brené Brown's definition of overwhelm. She says something like, overwhelm is when the volume, complexity, and speed with which information is coming to you is more than your brain, your nervous system, and your psyche can handle. So it's almost like an existential thing, right? It's not just about cognitive It's about, it really becomes really difficult as a human being to try and navigate all of this coming at us at once. So it's very, very tricky for leaders who are really care about their staff and want people to be well and vital at work. It's really very tricky for them to achieve that in today's world. Okay, so this slide, I'm going to try and talk through with you without getting too complicated. But what I wanted to land is all of these symptoms that we're having really boil down to our neurobiology, and all change is brain change. So if you look at the picture on the far left with the little red dot, so that is your amygdala. It's a small little part of your brain, but it's your primal brain. It's been with us for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it is alive and well in 2024. And its main role is to protect us, to scan for threat and to protect us. But because it hasn't evolved to meet 2024, its main driver is to protect us from death, right? Is to keep us alive. The challenge is it's alive and well in 2024, and it can't discern between what is a real threat and an imagined threat. And it's a very, very important part of our neurobiology. So if you are sitting at your dining room table and a glass is about to fall off the table and you quickly reach out and you catch it, that's all your automatic primal brain that has kicked in very quickly to support you. So if you look, okay, so that's if you look at the other two pictures at the top, the far right one, so that's another view of the amygdala when it's firing up. So as you can see, it literally fires up our whole brain, and it goes down all these nerves, down our neck and our back, to send messages to our body to protect, to run, to fight, to react. So similarly, if you're driving down a road and you go around a corner and there's a brick in the road, your whole system from seeing that brick kicks into gear in milliseconds so that you can swerve around the brick and then course correct so that you don't have a little accident, right? It's an amazing system. The trouble is, if you look at the middle picture there, can you see that when the amygdala is firing, it actually takes over the front of our brain? And the front of our brain is called the prefrontal cortex, and that's our 21st century brain. That's our analytical ability. That's our innovative ability. That's our ability to stay connected and be creative and really adapt. And the reason why it kind of takes over the brain is because when you're under physical threat, you don't need to be connected to other people or be solution orientated or be analytical. You just need to stay alive. So actually your body is doing an amazing thing in making sure that all the resources that are needed are where they need to be. But of course, misguided a bit, the amygdala, right? So if you go down to the little picture in the far right-hand corner, so that highlighted part in the front there, that's your prefrontal cortex, right? That's the brain that we want to engage for our resilience and our adaptation. And that part of the brain is actually not automatic, it's manual, and you believe it. So why am I telling you all of this? So in organizations where our amygdalas are firing all the time because our world is changing and we are the generation of transition, we have to create systems and structures and practices and rituals that keep our prefrontal cortex as engaged as possible. And coaching, having a coaching culture is one way to do that. So in summary, all change is brain change. Don't forget that we are neurobiological and we have to work with our nervous system and our reactivity in healthy ways so that we can stay engaged. And one way to do that is to create coaching cultures. Okay, so if you think about everything that I've spoken about, speed, complexity, volatility, our brains being a bit confused about what's actually going on in the world, feeling threat, feeling stress, feeling overwhelmed. This is what it feels like leading people today. I have conversations with leaders every single day who say, how do I motivate my staff? How do I get them to think well for themselves? How do I get them to use their initiative? What do I do about disengagement in the business? What do I do about my turnover? So it's really, really a difficult and complex situation that we're in terms of managing the human experience in the corporate world. Okay, so now that I've told you all the bad news or the reality check, always to remember that, and this is prefrontal cortex thinking, right? Just think about your experience as you've been listening to what I've been saying to you, right? Probably been engaging your amygdala and your primal brain. Maybe you had some thoughts of, oh, that's so me. Oh, I'm so stressed. Oh, what are we going to do about all of this? And so the prefrontal cortex is really the part that says, okay, so what is the opportunity in all of this? This is the part of the brain that we want to engage. And what is the opportunity? How do we move from being the rock to actually climbing different precipices and making great leaps? Because we are hardwired for resilience, and we are a resilient species. If we weren't resilient as a species, we wouldn't be here today. So how do we re-engage that strength? How do we re-engage in our birthright of resilience and make sure that the generations to come have a world to live in, and continue to exist as a species on this planet? So it's all about resilience. Creating a coaching culture in an organization is really about creating resilience. And resilience is not being thick-skinned. It's not about pushing through. Resilience is really about building an intelligence. And the way that we build the intelligence is we have to be able to rest. We have to be able to restore. We have to stay connected to each other, because resilience is not all about you. It's about our community. It's about our tribe. It's about how we work well together. So often people think resilience is, I need to push through and I need to be thick-skinned and I mustn't feel, and I mustn't show vulnerability. But that is not what resilience is. Resilience is in itself quite complex and quite restorative. And it's a process whereby we learn to recover, we learn to reflect, we learn to take our learnings forward in new ways so that we create opportunities and we keep growing as human beings in organizations, and as a species amongst other species on the earth. And what does that give us? That actually gives us joy. That actually gives us strength, and that actually gives us an opportunity to learn new skills, to unlearn stuff that's not working for us anymore, and to relearn and re-engage in new ways, almost stepping up to the challenge of creating a new world. And so we can move through the whitewater rapids of life in ways that feel skillful and feel helpful, and that help us to stay connected to each other. So bringing that all back to learning and growing and having a coaching mindset, the work that I do with leaders really boils down to a couple of things. Really good leaders or leadership development is primarily about self-knowledge and self-management, right? How well do I know myself? So if I know myself well and I can manage myself well, then I can trust myself well. And when I can trust myself well in different situations, then I can lead out into the world in ways that cultivate wellness. So if I trust myself, I can trust you. And if I can role model what it means to invest in self-growth and self-understanding and self-management, if I can role model that well, then I can bring it out into the world for everyone else. And so for me, an opportunity to create a culture of coaching, or to embark on a journey where you yourself learn how to be a coach or how to know yourself better, in my mind, can only benefit. So we know that technology is going at an insane rate. We know that jobs that are here today will look very different in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, maybe not even that long, maybe in 2 years' time. But what I'm absolutely certain of, and I've seen it in the organizations that I work in, You can be as technically competent on whatever, but your ability to build relationships, quality relationships with yourself and with others, is what is going to set you apart in life. And that's what's going to matter, is for us to keep having a meaningful and important and innovative relationship with ourselves and others as a species on this earth. So I hope that's given you an idea of kind of some of the things that we are dealing with in corporates, and how having spaces for people to land, to be listened to have an opportunity to be coached. And remember, when you coached, you actually learn how to coach yourself. And so in the learning of it all, we can all collaboratively and together move forward in healthy, vibrant, fulfilling ways. Thank you.
So good evening, all attendees. Firstly, I would like to extend my appreciation to Gail for the insightful contribution. Gail, I've been sitting on the edge of my seat with a pen and a notebook and adding all the golden nuggets to my own toolbox. So as mentioned, I'm Kaylynn Philander, SACAP's Coaching Manager and ICF credentialed coach. So we continue the discussion around the coaching mindset that has the potential to transform individuals, teams, and organizations. Throughout this segment of the presentation, we will further explore what the coaching mindset is, why it is so powerful, and how it can drive positive change in various aspects of our lives. So let's start by defining the coaching mindset. At its core, the coaching mindset is about adopting a curious, non-judgmental, growth-orientated approach to interactions and challenges. It is about asking powerful questions, actively listening, and empowering others to find their own solutions. It further involves fostering an environment of trust and collaboration whereby individuals are supported to unlock potential, find their own solutions, and achieving goals through self-discovery and continuous growth. There are several key principles that underpin the coaching mindset. I've selected a few that resonates with me. The first principle that I've kind of honed in on is empowerment. Believing in the potential of individuals to find their own answers and to take ownership of their own growth and development. In a coaching process, clients are expected to demonstrate commitment and accountability for their journey of personal development. Renowned psychologist Carl Rogers is a pioneer of the humanistic approach and is widely recognized for his person-centered approach. Asserted that inherently, individuals possess the ability for self-understanding and growth. And as we all sit online at the moment, we all have our own goals, our dreams, and our aspirations. We may not have all the process steps neatly written out, but we surely hold the answers within. And through reflections and time and space and exploration, we'll obtain the answers. A second key principle that I also just would like to highlight is active listening. Engaging in deep listening to understand others' perspectives, feelings, and needs without judgment or interruption. Active listening is characterized by fully concentrating, understanding, responding, and remembering what is being said. It involves giving your undivided attention to the speaker, suspending your judgment, and providing both verbal and non-verbal cues that indicate understanding and empathy. And some of the benefits of active listening: improved understanding. It helps us to accurately comprehend the message, including the thoughts, the feelings, and perspectives of the speaker. For the most part, many of us listen to respond instead of listening to understand. Active listening also allows for enhanced relationships. And by demonstrating genuine interest and empathy, it fosters trust and rapport between individuals, which leads to stronger and more meaningful relationships. And whether that is between coach and client, manager and team, parent and child. And then if we look at conflict resolution, Active listening can promote the open communication and the mutual respect, which can facilitate the resolution of the conflict or the disagreement in a constructive manner. It increases collaboration. When we feel heard and understood, we are more likely to collaborate effectively, share ideas, and work towards a common goal. And then from a personal development perspective, through active listening, individuals gain valuable insights into themselves and others, leading to greater self-awareness and personal growth. So active listening can be seen as a fundamental skill that not only improves communication, but also promotes understanding, empathy, and cooperation in various interpersonal interactions. Following on from the active listening is curiosity. So approaching situations with an open mind and a genuine desire to explore possibilities and uncover insights. We always encourage our coaching clients to be open to the learning, be open to trying new things. One of my past educators would consistently remind the coaches in training to be curious, or to be as curious as a 5-year-old. And in those moments, I would so often reflect on my 5-year-old daughter, who consistently asks the why question. And I don't think any amount of answer would ever be suffice. But her ability to wanting to know more, to uncover and to discover. And kids often unintentionally do this through play. And then the last key principle that I would highlight, possibly one of my favorites, or possibly not, is accountability. Holding oneself and others accountable for the actions, commitments, and goals in a supportive and non-blaming manner. So it is great to have an accountability partner, as they provide invaluable support and motivation on the journey towards your goals. By sharing progress, challenges, and successes, we are more likely to stay focused, committed, and accountable. Your accountability partner could serve as a sounding board who offers encouragement, feedback, and constructive criticism when needed. The partnership fosters a sense of responsibility and commitment, and it leads to increased productivity and ultimately the success in achieving your desired outcome. The relationship cultivates trust, mutual respect, and it also creates a supportive environment for your growth and your development. Yeah, let's discuss why the coaching mindset is so powerful and its potential impact. So one, unlocking potential. Always reminds me of, and I know the image is of growth, but it always reminds me of a padlock that's possibly being unlocked. So by empowering individuals to tap into their strengths, passions, and aspirations, the coaching mindset unlocks hidden potential and fosters personal and professional growth. We frequently discuss the occurrence of those aha moments or light bulb moments. These are the breakthroughs that are often attained through thorough exploration and constructive coaching conversations or sessions. What's also important, building trust and relationships. So we've spoken about active listening. I've mentioned empathy. There's also genuine care. The coaching mindset strengthens trust and rapport, which leads to more meaningful and collaborative relationships. It may often enhance performance. By asking powerful questions and providing constructive feedback, the coaching mindset encourages self-reflection and continuous improvement, leading to enhanced performance and results. And then there's fostering innovation, which encourages experimentation, risk-taking, creative thinking, as well as creating an environment where innovation can thrive. So let's have a look at the coaching mindset in action. Post-COVID specifically, we've seen an increase, or rather a growing culture within the corporate space. Leadership coaching. Effective leaders use the coaching mindset to empower their teams, to develop talent, and to drive organizational success. Coaching in the workplace offers various benefits, including enhanced performance, skill development, improved communication amongst team members, increased engagement, leadership development. And by providing your employees with personalized support, guidance, and feedback, coaching then fosters a culture of continuous learning and development, which leads to higher levels of motivation, satisfaction, and productivity throughout the organization. When we look at the classroom setting within the education space, We see teachers or educators leverage the coaching mindset to inspire students, cultivate a love for learning, and foster critical thinking skills. There is a much bigger emphasis on the transformational learning approach, allowing students to be a part of the learning process and working towards reaching the outcome or the answer, instead of the educator just providing it. And then from a career development perspective, coaches assist individuals navigate career transitions, set new goals, and overcome obstacles, enabling them to reach their full potential. And career transitions could be a new job, moving into a new department, a recent or an upcoming promotion, retirement, etc. And as a coach, I work with recent graduates as they step into the working world, or as they like to call it, their first real job. And as much as they have the qualifications and the skill set to perform their tasks, they often require assistance with personal goals. Topics that we often explore in our sessions focus on communication skills, relationship building, time management, confidence, to name a few. And then if we focus on personal growth through coaching and self-coaching, which is my favorite, individuals apply the coaching mindset to explore their values, beliefs, and goals, leading to a greater self-awareness and fulfillment. Personal growth brings about numerous benefits over and above the increased self-awareness. There is also enhanced resilience, improved emotional intelligence, and a deeper sense of fulfillment. By engaging in self-reflection, mindful practice, setting meaningful goals, and stepping out of our comfort zones, we can expand our horizons. We can unlock our full potential, and we can cultivate a more fulfilling and purposeful life. More so, personal growth fosters healthier relationships, better decision-making, and a heightened sense of empowerment, enabling individuals to navigate life's challenges with confidence and grace. So moving on to the last slide, I assume, SACAP's coaching programs offers coaching students the opportunity to embody the coaching mindset, not only within a coaching session, but to adopt it as a way of life. SACAP is recognized as an ICF Level 2 accredited coach education provider, and we hold both the Commencer Gold and Silver program provider status. Should you be interested to commence your coach education journey, our short learning program, the Coach Practitioner program, as well as our honors equivalent qualification, the postgraduate diploma in coaching, commences in June 2024 in just 4 short weeks. I think just in conclusion, the coaching mindset is a powerful tool, whether in the personal or in the professional space. It is there for transformation. By embracing the principles of empowerment, active listening, curiosity, and accountability, we can unlock potential, build trust, enhance performance, and foster innovation. I encourage each of you to cultivate the coaching mindset in your own lives and witness the positive impact it can have on yourself and those around you. Thank you.
Just a huge thank you from myself and SACAP to Gail and Kaylynn for sharing your expertise with us this evening, for all our attendees who are here to learn more about becoming a coach or just how this will impact them in their professional and personal lives. The way that you have shared information with us this evening. Kaylynn, as you say, I've also been sitting with a notebook, even though, I agreed to be here this evening. It's always so lovely and informative to hear what you have to share. Attendees, thank you so much for joining us this evening and for spending the past 40 minutes with us. Kaylynn and Gail are available for the next 20 minutes to answer any questions you may have. So whether this be about coaching, about becoming a coach, about going for coaching, if you just want to find out more, if you're interested to share with someone else, the Q&A box is located at the bottom of your screen, and I'll give you a few minutes just to populate that box for us, and we'll be happy to go into that live session with you. Gail, if you don't mind me asking, while we wait for our attendees just to populate the Q&A box, if you don't mind joining me on screen, you've been in this industry for about 25 years. What was the moment where, that then made that decision for you, helped you or spurred on the decision to go into coaching and to help others, sort of unlock their potential?
Great question. So I was running my own business in recruitment, and I was leading a team that was quite a difficult team. And I realized that I wasn't actually doing it so well. So I decided to do some studying in coaching, more to help myself build some skill and to understand people better, to understand myself better, and how I had been relating to them. And I wanted to lead them well. So that's kind of where I started the coaching journey with SACAP. Yeah, and for me, just, as I started to learn stuff, I just wanted to learn more and more. I think what Kaylynn said as well, which I really resonated with, is just the transformational nature of learning more about human behavior and how we operate and how we can just be better human beings in the world today. So that's pretty much where it started.
Lovely. Thanks so much for sharing, Gail. We have a question in our chat box. Someone would love to do our coach practitioner program, Kaylynn, but is confused by the academic calendar. They'd like to know if it's starting in June or is it term 2?
Okay, so thank you for the question, Steph. So it is term 2, June. I think term 2 commences on the, speak under correction, but on the 18th of June. Registration and application process is currently open, for which we will then commence in term 2, which is in June.
Thanks so much. And then Kaylynn, if you don't mind staying, and I suppose Gail, you could maybe add anything you might have afterwards, but Nadira would like to know if you can suggest any literature or authors for further reading on coaching in the workplace.
So, I mean, I'm happy to start, but Kaylynn, it'd be great to hear. I mean, you're more attuned to the stuff every day in terms of the literature. That's very helpful. But I think off the top of my head, I remember, and I still have it somewhere here, there's a great book called Coactive Coaching, which is was like my Bible for a long time. I love it because it's got lots of examples and lots of forms and things that can help you, and exercises. And then I love Nancy Klein's Time to Think work and Coaching with Backbone and Heart. And if you just Google coaching and you'll find there's so many good books. And then on leadership, Brené Brown stuff is so easy to read and just lovely and just so human-centered. So if you've never done anything like this before, I would suggest those few ones as a starter. And then, of course, don't forget, just, on YouTube, you Google videos, just any topic you want to, you'll get a stream of stuff. I love Kristen Neff's work on compassion. So, just sit down, make a cup of tea, and just start Googling on your computer, and you'll be amazed at how much is at your fingertips.
Yeah, thank you, Gail. Maybe to add on to that, I know 2 books that are sitting not on my desk, but rather in the drawers of my desk and I'm just trying to get like the correct title because I work with this every day. I have like shorthand. There's like shorthand for everything. The one is An Introduction to Coaching Skills by Christian van Nieuwenburg. It is a good starter, I like to call it the starter book, but also just the book that you'll always refer to during your coaching journey. The skills can be utilized in whichever industry you sit in, so not limited to only the workplace. And then there's another book which I'm actually like literally, okay, got it. So it's a book written by John Whitmore, Coaching for Performance. Also speaks about the principles and the practical aspects of coaching. Also 2 great books. I think I can keep you here all night by answering like a list if I had the list in front of me, but happy to chat offline if that would support you even further. And like Gail says, like, just actually search Google. There's so much that comes up. It's amazing how much of the online resources that we utilize as coaches on a daily basis. So, but happy to have the conversation offline as well.
Thanks so much. Kaylynn, if I could keep you here. Anati would like to know, with regards to the second key principle, active listening, You mentioned remembering as a characteristic. How can we improve listening and remembering, so maybe our memory, before entering a program if you've noticed you tend to zone out or forget as an individual and aspiring coach?
Okay. The question is putting me on the spot now, because was I actually listening to Stephanie? Was I listening to respond? And I'll possibly answer it from wearing my coaching manager hat, and I like to kind of interchange between the 2 or 3 or 4. But specifically from SACAP's coaching programs, that particular competency is actually honed in quite greatly throughout the program. There's definitely theory, and the educator facilitates, the theory part of it, kind of shows you demonstrations online whereby active listening takes place within a coaching session, so you can actually see a demonstration thereof. And then in class, over and above the theory and the educated or the facilitated part of the lesson, the educator also gives you the opportunity to kind of practice your active listening. And before giving like tips and not advice, but guidance, you get the opportunity, to reflect on your competence, the active listening. And it's in those moments when you realize, oh my goodness, when I'm speaking to someone, I'm perhaps not making eye contact, or I'm on my phone, because that's what we do quite often, while we're having a conversation with someone or while we're in a meeting, we're also, typing on the side at the same time. So in the coach training specifically, active listening is taught in a very practical way. By the time you walk out of like module 3, you should be really good at it. And you also get feedback then from your peer coach. So you also do practice coaching sessions. You get feedback based on observations by other student coaches in the way that you've active listened or haven't. And then the educator obviously also provides guidance as to how to improve it. There's lots of reading material around it. There's lots of specific video demonstrations or video clips that can be utilized. I struggle, I must admit, I struggle with active listening because we always feel like we're multitasking. But it's about, when you're stepping into a conversation, when you're stepping into a meeting, is to just be 100% present, to learn to be quite conscious. I would always flip my phone on its face so that I don't see the notifications. I will make sure that my emails are closed. If it's an online meeting, my emails are closed, or my notifications, on the Teams chat is also closed. So that when I'm with someone, whether it's in an online meeting room or whether it's in a face-to-face setting, is that I'm holistically and 100% there. What you also notice, or what I've noticed in a coaching session, is clients often, if we take note of their non-verbal cues, so the way in which they sit. I always think of when you first meet someone for the first time and you're sitting down, the body language speaks, volumes. So when someone's actually relaxed and comfortable, and when that trust has already been built between coach and client, you see that person kind of sit back. You'll also notice that you even start mirroring each other's body language. So if your legs are crossed, perhaps the next person as well. So it's about, I think, without having my answer quite long-winded, is about being very intentional when stepping into a conversation, whether it's informal, formal, put away the electronic device. I always feel that's actually the interference or the disruption, and then close all emails and anything else, and just be 100% there with the person. If what you've heard, or if you feel that you haven't understood something, absolutely correctly, ask a clarifying question. There's nothing wrong with that. And I do that very often. Or perhaps I share my opinion and, I speak under correction. So yeah, that's like a snippet into it. But there's a much deeper dive in our coaching program, much deeper dive into the competencies of coaching, and active listening is one of them.
Thanks so much, Kaylynn. I feel like you were speaking to me there for a moment because I'm trying to read questions but also heard you. We are slowly running out of time, so I'd like to just ask Gail to answer one more question first before we end. What I would like to say is if we don't get to your question this evening, I will reach out to Gail and Kaylynn after the session just so that we do answer you either via email or just a chat afterwards tomorrow. So Gail, if I could just invite you on screen for the last question, please. So Mukadi says, I like the expression, it's difficult to stay in the jungle when you are trained in a zoo. How relevant is that expression in our current situation in South Africa?
Thank you for asking a challenging question. You definitely made me be present, shall we say. So I think that if you think about what I said about the brain, right? And if you are having an experience, so let me answer the question by asking you a question. If you or anyone you know has an experience in terms of our context of South Africa at the moment, where you are going, what just happened? What do we do now? So confusing. Then you know that you are in a space that is probably in the jungle, right? Because what's happening in your brain there is your prefrontal cortex is struggling to make sense of things. And so absolutely true. We're learning as we go in our country today, and it's very, very scary. And so that's why also there will be polarized conversations. There will be you versus me. There will be let's stay, let's go. Those are all actually reactive processes that start in our brain. Everything starts in our brain. So yes, it's very difficult for all of us, or some of us, to feel safe in South Africa with not knowing. Remember that the brain is always looking for solutions and the ability to predict things, right? So the minute we don't have enough information or enough story from before to actually notice the patterns or find the predictability, then we're not in the zoo anymore, and we're in the jungle. So absolutely, I don't think it's a uniquely South African thing. I think globally, where everybody all over the world is having a sense of, what do I need to unlearn here? And what do I need to learn differently? And how do I stay connected? And how do we build tribe? How do we build Ubuntu? How do we stay in conversation? Which sometimes feels counterintuitive because there's the high threat, because we just don't know. We don't know what things are going to look like. So yeah, long-winded way of saying absolutely 100% relevant in our context today and relevant to our global context today.
Thanks so much, Gail. Again, thank you, Gail and Kaylynn. I think this has been extremely informative. To our attendees, thank you for your questions, your thoughtful questions, your engaging questions, having engaged with the content, and then also, like Gail said, forcing us to be present as well so that we could give you the best answers. I am aware that there are a few questions in the Q&A box which we haven't gotten to, but unfortunately we have run out of time. So just a reminder once again that if we haven't gotten to your question, please feel free to just pop your email address in our chat box or in the Q&A box. You're welcome to ask any additional questions you maybe didn't get to type out during the session or while you were listening, and we'll definitely make contact with you with your answers. Just a reminder, the session has been recorded and will be made available on our YouTube channel. We do encourage you to keep an eye on all our social media platforms just to stay up to date to with any webinars we might have in the future, as well as any program launches, program updates, and just more information about when our programs are starting. We have seen a few questions about our coaching programs, and we'll be sure to get an admissions officer to contact you either tomorrow or the day after. Once again, thank you so much for spending time with us this evening, to our speakers for sharing your knowledge with us, and I wish you all a lovely evening further. Take care.